has unveiled a budget worth just over 1.6 trillion rupees through an ordinance amid widespread reservation from the opposition that a caretaker government lacked the constitutional guidelines to float a full-fledged budget. On a positive note, the budget has targeted maximum efforts to curb the pandemic, but not surprisingly, it remains a populist and distributive budget to woo voters ahead of the November elections. Good morning, I am Bipashna Tamang and these are the headlines of the hour. The government unveils a budget of 1.65 trillion rupees for the upcoming fiscal year through ordinance, gives priority to controlling the pandemic and procuring vaccines. Opposition parties claim the budget is distributive and aims at luring voters. The private sector says its implementation will be challenging. At least 3 professors killed and 15 more wounded after a roadside bomb hit a bus carrying university staff in Afghanistan's Charikar, the Parwan province capital. And Team Nepal suffers 6-2 defeat against Iraq in an international friendly. Nepal put up a valiant show despite the defeat. The government has unveiled a budget of 1,650 billion rupees for the upcoming fiscal year by targeting the elections, while the priority remains in controlling the pandemic and procuring vaccines. The budget has set a target of 1,024.9 billion rupees of revenue collection. Likewise, the budget has aimed at raising 309 billion rupees from foreign loan and 250 billion rupees from internal sources. The government expects to receive 63 billion rupees from foreign aid. The government, which had said it would be difficult to attain an economic growth rate of 4% this fiscal year, has set a target of attaining an economic growth rate of 6.5% in the upcoming fiscal year. More than 64 billion rupees has been allocated for COVID-19 treatment and procurement of vaccines. The budget has brought programs to satisfy civil servants, senior citizens, university students, among others. The government has made provision to provide subsidized loan of up to 2.5 million rupees to youths with high-level education by putting their educational certificates as collateral. The ceiling of the subsidized loan is currently 700,000 rupees and the program has not been successful. The government has also made a provision to provide university students loan at an interest rate of only 1% to buy laptops. Likewise, the government has allocated a budget of 1,647.57 billion rupees to satisfy senior citizens, handicapped individuals, industrial entrepreneurs affected by COVID-19, among others. The budget for the upcoming fiscal year is 175 billion rupees, or more than the budget of the current fiscal year. The shape of the capital expenditure has been reduced, setting aside 347 billion rupees. Meanwhile, the social security allowance has been increased by 33%. More than 1.7 million people receive the social security allowance. The senior citizen allowance has also increased to 4,000 rupees per month. The salary of civil servants has also gone up by 2,000 rupees per month. Likewise, the government has announced the hotels will receive discounts and facilities as provided to industries, while those operating businesses by renting government-owned properties will receive 50% discount on rent. The government has allocated 125 billion rupees in the health sector for the upcoming fiscal year, prioritizing the prevention and containment of the coronavirus pandemic. The government last year had allocated 90.69 billion rupees for the health sector for the current fiscal year, which is 22 billion rupees more than the previous fiscal year. The government increased the budget, citing the health security of the general public from all diseases, including infectious diseases. 7 people had succumbed to coronavirus at the time of budget announcement last year. The death toll has climbed to over 7,100 within a year. It had been announced that a well-facilitated hospital with 300 beds in Kathmandu and a transmittable disease hospital with 50 beds in each province headquarters would be established, for which a budget of 12.46 billion rupees was allocated. The government, however, failed to achieve the goal. In the meantime, COVID-19 patients were compelled to be treated outside hospitals due to the lack of beds. The government had also announced to establish local-level basic hospitals with 5 to 15 beds. However, only groundworks have been done. The government has repeated the announcement of establishing a 300-bed hospital in Kathmandu and a transmittable disease hospital in each provincial headquarters. Meanwhile, it is uncertain when the hospitals will be ready for operation. The government had allocated 1.3 billion rupees for the project. The government's failure in implementation of priority projects in the health sector has affected health services in the country, raising doubts over the health ministry's capability. The government has allocated 122.77 billion rupees in the health sector for the upcoming fiscal year, which is 32 billion rupees more than the current fiscal year. The opposition Nepali Congress has viewed that the government has released the budget without considering the constitutional criteria.
स्थानीय सरकार र प्रदेश सरकारको अधिकार क्षेत्रभित्रका कामहरू पनि चाहिँ यो गर्ने भनेर घोषणा गरिएको छ। यसले गर्दाखेरि जसरी बजेट प्रेजेन्टेसन भएको छ त्यसले चाहिँ सबै खुसी हुन्छन्, सबै वर्गलाई चाहिँ यसले चाहिँ प्रसन्नता प्राप्त गर्छ। यो चाहिँ लोक रिजाई खालको बजेट छ। यसले चाहिँ लोकप्रियता बढ्छ भन्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ राखिएको। कतिपय उद्देश्यहरू चाहिँ सकारात्मक उद्देश्यहरू नै छन्, त्यसमा आपत्ति गर्ने होइन। त्यो उद्देश्य पूरा गर्नको लागि चाहिँ धेरै कामहरू गर्नुपर्छ, धेरै चर्चा पनि भएको छ, तर तुरुन्त कार्यान्वयन हुन सक्ने अवस्था चाहिँ
Meanwhile, the private sector has given a mixed review on the budget announcement. The recommendations given by the industry and business sector have been included in the budget. However, implementation is deemed challenging.
तर अहिलेसम्म मैले माननीय मन्त्रीज्यूको जुन बजेट भाषण सुन्दाखेरि एकदमै पोजिटिभ र निजी क्षेत्र फ्रेन्डली, इन्भेस्टमेन्ट फ्रेन्डली, उद्योग फ्रेन्डली बजेट जस्तो देखिएको छ। हुन त यसमा आधिकारिक धारणा हामी यसलाई अलिकति डिप स्टडी गरेर भोलिसम्म या भोलि या पर्सिसम्म हामी राख्नेछौँ। तर अहिलेसम्म जुन पनि कुरा हामीले सुनेका छौँ त्यसले हामी उत्साहित भएका छौँ। यसमा निजी क्षेत्रको क्यापासिटिजदेखि ब्युरोक्रेटिक क्यापासिटिजदेखि लिएर अन्य पनि धेरै कुरा सुधार्न जरुरी छ। त्यसैले गर्दाखेरि बजेट राम्रो भए तापनि त्यसको कार्यान्वयन पक्ष जहिले पनि चुनौतीपूर्ण रहन्छ।
यो स्टार्टअप्सलाई हामीहरूले प्रोत्साहन दिनुपर्ने एकदम जरुरी छ। त्यसको लागि सीएनआईले नै प्रपोज गरेको थियो कि यसको लागि एउटा स्पेशल फन्ड क्रिएट गर्ने र कोलेट्रल बेस्ड लोन नगरेर यसलाई के छ कि विदाउट कोलेट्रल पनि हामीहरूले दिने सुविधा क्रिएट गर्ने। मलाई लाग्छ कि बजेटले यो पनि एड्रेस गरेको छ।
यो अलिकति चुनौतीपूर्ण छ, किनभनेदेखि यो मुलुक नै अहिले चाहिँ कोभिडले चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ एकदम थलिएको अवस्थामा छौँ। यो अवस्थामा जुन किसिमको सरकारले चाहिँ राखेको टार्गेट अनुसार चाहिँ राजस्व असुली हुन कठिन छ र चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ अलिकति मुस्किल पर्छ भन्ने मलाई लाग्छ।
Welcome back. The coronavirus crisis in the country continues amid the massive second wave of the pandemic, as 116 COVID-19 individuals succumbed to the virus yesterday, taking the national death tally to 7,163. Likewise, out of 14,752 samples tested through the PCR method, a total of 4,311 tested positive for the virus in the past 24 hours. According to the Health Ministry, there are 111,509 active cases in the country at the moment. Meanwhile, 6,080 individuals registered for recovery in the past 24 hours, taking the recovery tally to over 434,750. There are 891 individuals in various quarantine centers across the country, 1,614 individuals in ICUs and 457 on ventilator support. According to the Health Ministry, over 3 million samples have been tested through the PCR method in the country, out of which 553,422 have tested positive till date. President Bidya Devi Bhandari has requested her American counterpart Joe Biden through a letter to help Nepal with COVID-19 vaccines. Ambassador of Nepal to the United States, Yuvraj Khatioda, delivered the letter to the State Department's senior advisor, Erwin Masinga, yesterday. Through the letter, President Bhandari has urged for the convenience in acquiring AstraZeneca vaccines provided by the U.S. to various countries. Ambassador Khatioda informed about the coronavirus scenario in the country while handing over the letter. According to the Nepalese embassy, senior advisor Masinga assured that the U.S. government would intensify procedures to make the AstraZeneca vaccines available to Nepal. The Himalayan nation had previously corresponded with the U.S. government to procure 5 million COVID-19 vaccines developed by American company Johnson & Johnson. The president on Wednesday appealed to her Indian counterpart Ramnath Kovind to assist in Nepal's inoculation drive. Likewise, President Bhandari had also urged Chinese President Xi Jinping to provide vaccines to Nepal during a telephone conversation on Wednesday. The Chinese president assured to provide 1 million vaccines along with easing procurement process. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the public in Dhangari, Pokhara, Butwal, Janakpur and Biratnagar what their say is on the budget introduced by the government for the upcoming fiscal year. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
खोप चाहिँ निशुल्क खोपको लागि पैसा जुन स्वास्थ्यमा छुट्याएको छ यो पनि सकारात्मक कुराहरू छ। त्यस्तै पर्यटन यातायात क्षेत्र लगायत मिडिया हाउसहरुलाई चाहिँ नवीकरण दस्तुर चाहिँ छुट दिने यो पनि स्वागतयोग्य मान्न पर्छ।
शैक्षिक प्रमाणपत्र राखेर चाहिँ 25 लाख दिने कुरा पनि त्यो पनि राम्रो छ। तर व्यवहारमा लागू हुन्छ कि अलिकति अब त्यो हेर्न बाँकी छ।
चुनाव पनि घोषणा गरिसकेको सरकारले चाहिँ आफ्नो भोटको लागि ल्याएको बजेट जस्तो देखिन्छ र यो कार्यान्वयन हुन चाहिँ अत्यन्तै गाह्रो छ।
सम्पूर्ण क्षेत्रमा कनिका जस्तै बजेट एउटा छडेको छ सबै क्षेत्रमा चाहिँ केही न केही गरेकै छ सरकारले र यसलाई सही व्यवस्थापन गर्न यो कुरो चाहिँ कार्यान्वयनमा चाहिँ यो चुनौती नै छ।
हेरेको बजेट मध्ये अहिले जुन उहाँ प्रस्तुत गर्नुभएको छ अर्थमन्त्रीले त्यो अत्यन्त राम्रो छ। रहिगयो यसको कार्यान्वयन कस्तो हुन्छ त्यो एउटा महत्त्वपूर्ण पाटो हो।
बजेट निकै लोकप्रिय छ। शिक्षा स्वास्थ्यमा प्रशस्त मात्रामा बजेट विनियोजन भएको अवस्था छ। कोरोना महामारीका लागि पनि बजेट विनियोजन प्रशस्तै भएको छ।
यो बजेटप्रति आशंका चाहिँ रहेको छ किनभने जति जुन किसिमले चाहिँ सबै क्षेत्रलाई जुन अङ्कको चाहिँ बजेट प्रस्तुत गरिएको छ बजेटको बाँडफाँड गरिएको छ त्यो चाहिँ व्यावहारिक पक्षले त्यसलाई समेट्न सक्छ कि सक्दैन भन्ने चाहिँ आशंकाको कुरा छ।
Time now for our segment Public Pulse, where text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: how do you find the budget for the upcoming fiscal year? Options are A. Ordinary, Option B. Election targeted, and Option C. Ambitious. The voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And that's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and take care.